Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm your host, Linda Belzile Buisson, and I'm really thrilled to have my guest today, Giselle Romanino. Giselle, hello.
Hi, Linda. How are you?
I'm so happy to have you. Thank you so much for joining.
I'm
I'm,
so pleased to be here.
yeah, I'm really excited because, I have the absolute pleasure of, having these conversations with such inspiring, amazing women. And you are absolutely part of that tribe of,
Thank you.
inspiring women. If you don't mind, let's maybe just get right into it. And if you can just sort of share your story and tell us who you are and yeah, what's your story?
Sure. I'm 44 years old, and I actually work in the corporate field in the finance department. I have a child with special needs. He's going to be 14 this year, and it was quite a journey. It's quite a journey. At 18 months, he was diagnosed with a developmental disability, so he never met any of his milestones. And then later on, he was diagnosed with autism and a form of cerebral palsy, which is ataxia. So it's been quite a struggle. I was a mother that was in denial at the beginning until I woke up. And like every mother, you want to do what's best for your child, what you think is best for your child, and just hope that it's enough.
Yeah.
And I've learned during the years that it is enough, that I've been able to grow with him and understand his needs and accept him exactly the way he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you maybe tell us about how you were in denial and what that looked like and what was going on at that time?
Well, I've suffered from depression and anxiety for a very long time, almost all my life. So I was happy knowing that I was pregnant and going to have a child, but I was nervous. Just like every first-time mother, you're nervous and you don't know what to expect. So I think the postpartum kicked in after he was born, and it was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Am I going to be a good mother? Am I going to be able to support this child? This was all before I knew about his disability and his special needs.
Yeah.
So I was just going along, and I had the support of my family. My mother was a great support for me. And then because I get...
And you were
Yeah,
struggling through the postpartum hormones and everything that comes with that?
exactly. And so I didn't go out very much and I didn't socialize. So I really didn't know that something was wrong with my son, Jacob.
Okay.
So as we went to pediatrician appointments for, visits and whatnot, and reading the book, what to do in the first 12 months, the first year, I was asking questions. I'm like, why is Jacob not sitting up? Why is Jacob not able to hold his own bottle? Oh, don't worry. He'll do it when he's ready. And that was the biggest line I got for the longest time. And it's like, okay, so I'm in this little bubble not knowing. The doctor's telling me that everything is fine.
Yeah.
And then it's like, wait a minute, something didn't feel right inside me. So actually, when I found out that something was wrong with Jacob, that he wasn't meeting his milestones, he actually had a seizure at 15 months. So we took him to the hospital and all of that. And they said that it was just a febrile seizure and whatnot. And it was okay. Everything would be fine. But I still wasn't.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
What's a febrile?
It's due to a high fever when they're young.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's pretty typical. So that scared the heck out of me.
Yeah.
Exactly. Then I went to see the pediatrician and he's like, oh, it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. So I was getting the same story. So then in my gut, I said, I need to go see my family doctor. The family doctor that I've been with for many, many years, which I decided to go see a pediatrician for him because that's the right thing to do, right?
Yeah.
You're supposed to, you listen to people and you just, not knowing, you just go. And I do regret that I didn't see my family doctor, because when he saw Jacob, he said, there's something wrong. He's not meeting his milestones. So I'm going to get you in touch with a neurologist. And, we'll see where he's at, and they'll do an assessment and all of that. So then it took maybe 3-4 months, because he did have a seizure, that both hospitals got involved, like the doctor and the hospital, and they got him quickly to see the neurologist. So he had a whole bunch of tests. and they named it a developmental delay.
Hmm.
So he didn't meet any of his milestones. So everything had to be taught to Jacob: how to pull to stand, how to walk, how to, just the basic things that you and I know and a typical child would automatically do. These are the things that had to be taught to my son.
Hmm.
So it was difficult. It was
But you learned
difficult.
them. And you helped teach him.
I did, with a lot of therapists that I had coming to my home and extra therapy that I did on my own. You can't rely on our system. I'm in Toronto, Ontario, so there's so much support that you get. But as a mother, you want to push, you want to do as much as you can to get them where they need to be.
Yeah.
Right. So it was quite the journey, So he's made gains, but he is delayed. He's delayed even now. Even now, he'll continue to be delayed.
Yeah.
And we just hope and we continue to work with him. And whatever his potential is, it will be. And that's one of the amazing things, is that I've learned to let that go.
Yeah. And
that's
so
huge.
The denial piece, so you were in denial, and then, so what happened? You went from denial to courage, denial to strength.
Oh,
Like what?
No.
No.
No. So I fought just like every mother, hoping and praying that things would get better. Even small changes. I expected more. So, and I kept on saying, okay, it's okay. He's going to get better. It's okay. I remember getting him enrolled in junior kindergarten, and I could not put him in a special program. I did not want to. I was in denial. No, my son, no, he's going to outgrow this. He's going to outgrow this. And sure enough, no, he kept on getting delayed. As much as the effort that I put in and my family put in for treatment and whatnot, I had to come to terms with that. So I actually had a family member, a good friend of mine, of the family, that, talked me through it. And she worked with children on the autism spectrum. And we had a feeling that Jacob was on the autism spectrum, but he couldn't be diagnosed with autism because he didn't meet milestones. So that's right. So you have to meet certain milestones in order to be labeled that you have autism. So I worked with this family member that helped gain some goals for Jacob, so he would be assessed and be able to get the treatment for autism, which he needed, which all kids with a developmental delay, that's the way to train them. So as I embarked with that, and I spoke to people and I got into the community, it wasn't until about 6 years old that I decided to change schools and realize that, they're only babysitting my son. My mother could do that, right? I need them to teach him skills. So I had to learn about the IPRC process, on how to get services for him in the school system. Nothing was really told to me, like bits and pieces, but I had to investigate on my own. And I'm like, holy moly, there's a lot out there that I don't know about. And my journey began.
And what I love about this story, Giselle, is that you went through that period of denial where you wanted things to be perfect and you wanted things to be maybe like textbook. I don't know. Right. And maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, but what I particularly admire is your ability to accept how things were, and then for you to have the power after to like make things right, or to do things so that actually to save yourself. It's like to become your own savior, really. I love this story.
Yes, exactly.
And so what would you say, like, and now Jacob, what goes on, and what's your responsibility, what's your role in regards to Jacob, because he's only 14.
Yeah, he'll be 14
but
shortly.
He's in the regular, is he still in a special school, or he's in the
Well, he's in a regular school board, but they have a special needs classroom. So he gets integrated for certain subjects, for music, for gym, stuff like that, so he can interact with his peers. I'm huge on integration and inclusion, and I had to, like everything else, I had to fight for that. I had to fight for that. And even though slowly I got out of the denial by pushing myself to advocate for Jacob and for other children, in his school system, in his actual classroom. It wasn't until a few years ago, maybe 2 years ago, that I hit an all-time low. So I was doing all of this. I was advocating. I was getting slowly out of denial. But just like everybody else, you seem to go back and forth, right?
Yes.
So it seems like you're okay, and then something else happens.
Yeah.
So, Jacob has 3 diagnoses, from a developmental disability to autism and to ataxia. So I had to grieve 3 times for this child.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I grew each time. I'm happy to say that. But it wasn't until a couple years back that I had to take control of my life, literally take control of my life. I was getting sick.
Mm-hmm.
I was stressed. I was overwhelmed. I was keeping a full-time job. I work full-time. I keep a full-time job. I have to maintain my home.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have the support of my family, but ultimately Jacob is is my husband, and mine is a responsibility, right?
Yeah, of course.
So when I had stomach pain, I had to go through so many tests. I had to leave work for a little while just to get back on track. And I had a weight issue because, like most people, we eat our feelings away. We don't really feel them. And I embarked on a journey that I learned how to feel my feelings and actually move through them. Whereas before, I wasn't able to do that, or I didn't understand that. So when I took control of myself, the weight started coming off. I took better care of myself, and I didn't feel guilty for doing it anymore. And I gave more responsibility to my husband, which I never did at the beginning.
Yeah. And so what was the sort of trigger for that to happen? What allowed you, and I almost want to say, how did you give yourself permission to do that? Because I find that a lot of people, they sort of identify and they sort of become the role of suffering or pain or martyrdom or victim, like that becomes part of their, yeah. And I think a lot of, you're not alone, because I think, in society, there seems to be, almost encouragement to be the victim. And I know that sounds like a crazy thing, but so how did you go from being in that space to where you are now, which is empowerment and courageous? But like, what was the shift? What was the trigger? What was the tipping point for you?
Well, it was gaining 40 pounds, not being able to do things for Jacob, to even get him dressed, because he can't dress himself. So his daily living skills are based on me. So I felt awful. I felt like I couldn't handle this anymore. So I really needed to take a step back and say, what do I need to do for myself? So my first point was, I did see a therapist, a cognitive behavior therapist, that helped me through some issues that I was dealing with, which was all great. And then the internet is such a lovely place. Yeah. I found a lovely food coach, and she introduced me to a program called Feelings and Foods. And the mindset. And I believe that was the start of my journey. When I started eating things that made me feel better about myself, walking, moving, because that's so important, and just shifting my mindset. It was slowly shifting my mindset. And then I wanted more. I felt good. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that they hide behind their weight or their addiction or whatnot. And I learned all about the addictions that I had, right? So that started with that. And then I'm like, I want to help other people, other women. Yeah. So I found the Simply Women Accredited training program. And I'm like, this is for me. I've always wanted to help people, and I didn't know how. And I advocate and I help other parents, and I just wanted to do it on a grander scale. So, and it's so rewarding. So the people that I'm able to touch, and my story is very touching. A lot of people, they can't believe it sometimes what I've gone through, but I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah. And so if you had to give somebody, you know, somebody who's watching or listening to this, sort of advice on, you know, maybe they're in a similar situation where they feel stuck, or they feel despair, or they feel, you know, they have just no idea what to do, where to go. Like, what kind of advice would you give those people, those women? And yeah, what
I would start with, people would say this is cliche, you have to start with yourself. But you know what, Linda? It really does start with yourself. Because how can I say I love Jacob? Of course I love Jacob. I love my family. I love my husband. But if I didn't love myself, how can I really love anybody else? So it's truly taking small steps for yourself.
Yeah.
And then it just seems like things just fall into place. And then with taking my studies with Swan and healing, you know, parts of myself and aspects of myself, I was able to, I guess you can say, surrender the outcome. And that is huge, because as much as the therapies and the treatments I've done for Jacob, the speech therapies, the oxygen therapies, you name it, I've done it. You know, I've always expected. Yes, exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I realized that the real issue was that I was expecting something. I was expecting a miracle to happen. And I believe in miracles, but I was expecting a certain outcome. I was expecting 4 years of speech to get Jacob to speak, but he's nonverbal. So it's about getting him to communicate on his iPad, communicate in different ways. So when I was able to truly let go and accept Jacob for who he was, and whatever he's going to become, that's when I became free.
Oh, yes. Yes. Of course.
I'm not, so I'm not a prisoner of my own body.
Yeah, and your own thoughts.
And especially my own thoughts.
Yeah.
The thoughts,
Yeah. So how do you feel now, today, compared to how you used to feel? What's the difference? Like, what's the now Giselle compared to 40 pounds more depressed kind of Giselle? What's the difference?
I'm happy. I'm satisfied. I'm content with my life. And doing the work on myself, I've changed the people around me. The connection that I've made with my son, it is incredible. The connection with my husband. I had a rocky marriage, and I was going to be one of those statistics. Parents with children with special needs, they don't make it. Yes. But I can say we're making it.
Awesome.
Yes. So I'm excited about my life and my future with my family. And this is the first time that I can say my family, my husband, my son, and I. The first time in a long time.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like a team now. It's not just you fighting against the world. It's literally a team.
Exactly. We understand each other on a whole different level. And it's just this feeling, I can't even describe it. It's just, I'm just so happy. I'm just so happy. And I don't have to say, okay, that's going to have to happen tomorrow for me. I just let things be. I let it just happen in every aspect of my life, not just with Jacob or my husband, with everything.
So I assume it allows you to just sort of let things, I mean, you probably have much, much less stress than you ever had before.
For sure. I can feel it. And we all go through overwhelm and stress at times, but at least now I have the tools and I know how to deal with it.
Yeah. So what are your sort of key practices, or what are the key things that you do to deal with your stress or overwhelm? Because you're right. I mean, it totally does come up. There's no such thing as a magical pill that you can just take and you went from being, not where you wanted to being totally where you wanted to be overnight. I mean, it just doesn't exist. So
Exactly.
what are the sort of practices or tips or tricks that you share with people that you use that have allowed you to be successful in this space?
Okay. Well, I have a daily practice. I meditate daily. I take time every day, even if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes for myself. If it's to have a cup of tea, read a book, take a bath. And sometimes you have to schedule those things. At the beginning, I had to schedule a bath, as ridiculous as it might sound, but the rewards and the little steps that you take for yourself now just turn out to be huge. I walk daily. I exercise. I don't go to the gym, but I exercise in my home. And like I said, I go on walks. I eat better. I just feel better overall. And my life is the same way, in the sense of I still have treatment for Jacob. I still take him to speech therapy. I still have to do that. But just making time and space for myself, I feel that I'm able to do that.
Yeah. Well,
right?
And yeah, totally. And I heard somebody say recently, if I have 2 hours to give, I should give myself 1 hour to sort of get centered, get still, and get clear. And then have 1 hour, the other hour to give to my child or my family, or whatever, because that's a quality hour to give to them versus 2 hours of stress and concern. That doesn't work for anybody.
And our kids feel it. Our kids feel when we're stressed or overwhelmed. So it's not even worth being with them for the 2 hours. When you give them an hour, it feels like you're giving them 5 hours.
That's
right?
That's right.
So
Totally.
yeah.
Awesome. So, I mean, and I love this conversation on so many levels, because it's really an example of what happens when you can accept how things are. And it just gives you such power to be who you are in the world and give of your best, because so many people are and I was in that situation as well. So it's like resisting what is just makes it persist. So thank you so much for sharing such an amazing
You're
story.
very welcome.
Amazing story. So Giselle, if people wanted to get in touch with you to chat about this story, maybe they want to chat about their situation, maybe they have something similar, how would they get in touch with you?
Well, right now you can reach me by email, and my email address is giselle.romanino@gmail.com.
Perfect.
Or on my Facebook page.
Perfect. And what we'll do is I'll make sure that all those links are they go with this interview, so that people can just click on them, so they'll have access to get in touch with you. Thank you so much for this conversation.
You're very welcome.
I really want to acknowledge you for your courage, for your love, for your passion, for everything that you put out there, for really being honest and sharing this story and sharing your journey. Because I think, for a lot of people who are struggling and who are in a space of, uncertainty or being stuck, this could really help inspire them and hopefully move them forward. Just that one step that leads to the following steps. And so
I hope so.
So thank you very much. And thanks everybody for joining. And I look forward to seeing you again next time. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.